Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about 3 chapters of the Words of Radiance, or not the words, of Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. I know what the book is called. Chapter 12, Hero, to end part 1, and then the first 2 interludes, Narak and Yim. There's actually 4 interludes before the next part, so that's a bit of a change from last time, too. In these chapters, Kaladin works on figuring out some of his powers with the crew, and then a prediction that some people made last time comes true. And then, in the interludes, we meet some parshmen, and we meet a cobbler, and things not going great for either of them, really, but we'll get to that. I'm Data, and with me today is...
Jack.
And Joe.
Jaymee's feeling under the weather today, so... just the 3 of us. It's a boys' night. Let's see how it goes. Hold on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
Crack open a cold one with
really
the boys.
unsure of yourself, like it was going to be awful with just the boys. You were like, I guess let's see how this goes.
It's the TV show The Boys. So yeah, we had the end of part 1 this time, and it ended, I think, like you guys kind of expected. What did you guys think of these 3 chapters?
So, chapter was pretty good. Interesting just to see Kaladin doing his thing, hanging out with the boys. Like that was all fun. And then ended on Amaram. Well, we all called that one.
Except Jaymee. Jaymee thought it was going to be Wit, and now she's not here to defend herself.
Look, I mean, Wit's also a fair guess, I think. So that works. Interludes. So the second interlude was kind of all right. Yep, bit bleak. Like it really reminded me of like the dudes who helped Kavoth out in Name of the Wind when he's living on the streets of Tarbean.
Oh yeah,
like there was that one nice old cobbler who gave him the free set of shoes.
Oh,
because you could tell he was a homeless wretch, and that other dude who like lived in the cellar and looked after the urchins of the city. So it really reminded me of those guys. Don't think he deserved the end that he got. So bleak. But the first interlude, like, we have been clamoring for ages. It's like, we need to know more of the Parshendi.
Yep.
We need to know more of the Parshendi. And we finally got something. I fucking devoured it. I'm just like, yes, I need more of this. This is fascinating. I love it. Just the stuff that gets revealed in it just off the cuff. It's like, oh, we have all these different forms that we can grow into, and we can change our forms. We can effectively shapeshift. I'm like, what? I must know more. So, yes, I loved every second. And I think Eshonai is kind of interesting. I could be biased because she's the first Parshendi we've met properly. Mm-hmm. But I get the impression, so she's the shard bearer that Dalinar fought? That's the implication?
Well, it's not just an implication, actually. Do you remember the chapter title where Dalinar fights the shard bearer is Eshonai? And we had no idea what it meant at the time. But
okay, cool. All right. Which, I mean... that's funny considering Dalinar spent quite a bit of that battle just going, wait, are they women?
It's true, yeah. It's like, wait a second, Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So, yeah, absolutely love that interlude. In terms of, like, stuff that moves the plot forward, it probably wasn't that heavy, but it was something that I've wanted for so long to find, and finally I was getting answers, so I lapped it up. I loved it.
Yeah, and it's not just like a little trickle of some answers either. It's like full-on immersion in the society and explaining so much. I agree. It's about time, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, the other stuff was whatever, but this is yeah.
The other stuff wasn't bad, but unfortunately, it happened in the same block as we got this.
So yes, I don't blame you. We found out some interesting stuff about Kaladin's powers, and the Yim chapter was just like completely separate from almost everything that we've read so far. So
I mean, it's not the first time that happens. That's happened in the series, so that's all good.
A lot of the interludes have been like that.
Yeah. I mean, to give the Kaladin chapter its due, I do think it was really cool to see him hanging out with the guys, but the guys are also sort of interacting with each other and bantering back and forth, because we don't really get a chance to see a lot of that either, because we see it through everything through Kaladin's eyes, like he's the boss man, we don't get to see what the guys do when he's not around. So it was cool to see them sort of bantering back and forth as well, Lopen getting stuck to the wall and the others having a good chuckle.
The Lopen repeatedly stuck to the wall is great.
Yep.
Yeah, we're going to sound kind of repetitive here because I kind of feel almost exactly the same way Dak does about everything that he said. Yeah, it was the first chapter, not a ton of important stuff happens. Something important happens right at the end, but we've kind of guessed that, so it wasn't a big shock to us as it might have been to like another reader who hadn't like thought it through and guessed that before. So that kind of like reveal for us was kind of like, well, that's kind of what some of us were expecting. So we got, what we expected. But yeah, I loved all of this stuff with the Parshendi. They can, basically everything Dak said. They can be different forms. So interesting, so cool to know that like there's this whole culture going on. The fact that the Parshmen are a different form called slave form, like that's crazy. And so also like mate form, just every little piece of it was like, this is great. I love this. What a cool way to kind of give us a backstage pass to this stuff. And I think even more shocking to me, I think they said in that section that she's the only shard bearer left of the Parshendi, which is probably why they haven't been seeing shard bearers as often, because she's the only one left. She's the general. She's having to lead all the forces. We do get a sense that their forces are waning, which is good information for us to know. But yeah, they're about to do some crazy stuff, it sounds like, which is maybe leading into some of these chapter beginnings that we've been reading from Navani. So definitely super fun to read that, get some behind the scenes information, some delicious knowledge nuggets, as I like to say. And the Yim stuff was a little underwhelming. It was kind of nice, pleasant at first, and then it has a sad turn. I mean, I think if this interlude has anything to do with the story, it's showing us two things, right? It's showing us A, that there are other people who are awakening to surges in the world, and B, there's this creepy dude who's an assassin who's like a vigilante justice type guy running around. So we've got two interesting things from that section that may affect our story at large. But it did remind me a lot of the interlude of like, there's the one with the guy documenting all the different spren, and then the two people that are like measuring fire spren and stuff. So like I felt like it was very reminiscent of those two, except there might actually be some good stuff coming out of that section possibly. So I'm excited for the potential of what could happen. So
that's fair. Yeah, it's you're right that I think probably the biggest is that the first thing that you mentioned, where this is letting us know that there are other people like developing relationships with Spren and awakening to these powers.
Yeah.
Like throughout the world.
Which would make sense. Yeah, which would make sense because it seems to be all happening around the same time. Shallan, Kaladin. I guess Dalinar. I still am not like quite sure on that because we haven't seen a Spren around Dalinar.
Really haven't.
But yeah,
we haven't seen him with any like superpowers or anything either, right?
Yeah, so. And that was another thing I was wondering is like with Seth, like we haven't heard of a Spren being around Seth, and maybe that's just something we're not privy to. But yeah, so that's definitely a lot of cool potential stuff could be happening.
Maybe he's not allowed to talk about it because of his unspoken status.
Yeah,
whatever
it may
it's
not
called.
be. Maybe the Spren developing is what like cut him off from his people.
You're talking to a Spren? Out.
Well, I mean,
yeah,
that could be because like
I don't know culturally what their deal is, so like that may be like against that may be taboo for them.
Yeah, they seem to be from the one part of the planet that isn't affected by high storms, and there's grass and stuff. Like the whole ecosystem is different, so maybe like this side of the planet is affected by one shard, but this one section of the planet is affected by the other one who made it, and the Spren were all about one of those shards. So he got a Spren. It's like, well, now you're part of them. Now you get out.
Yeah. The other thing in the Yim section that I was thinking about that I just was reminded about was like the one talk and like experiences and stuff. So like I was like, well, maybe that has something to do with something. But it was such a like, oh, this is a nice cool guy, and then he's dead. It was almost like, and maybe Brandon's doing this intentionally. He wants us to forget about this guy so that it could be a twist later. But like, I don't know. There's just a bunch of interesting stuff that kind of happened there. So
Yeah, this idea of I guess it's just their religion, where it's like we were all part of one thing that broke itself apart to experience things. Like that's very different from anything else that we've heard about so far.
Yeah, I mean, that idea that saying broke itself apart, that could be two different kinds of things. It could be like a shard splintering itself on purpose, which would be interesting, or just like using body power versus spirit power, like in Scadrial. So like, I don't know, there's lots of kind of weird potential things.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, well, let's move into these chapters. We have the first one was Hero, and our only epigraph for this section, with Navani's journal saying, "Unfortunately, we fixated upon Sadeas's plotting so much that we did not take note of the changed pattern of our enemies, the murderers of my husband, the true danger. I would like to know what wind brought about their sudden, inexplicable transformation." Which she uses the word transformation here, and then later we find out that that's kind of a thing that they do.
They transform. They're not like the Transformers, but they do transform.
Robots in disguise? Oh no, wait.
Yeah. Also, like I know, like we didn't. What we got is what we got, right? Like we're not getting more information at this point. But like, does that transformation take time, or can I like sing a song and then be a different thing immediately? Like I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, like I want to know more about the transformations and how they trigger it, because like, does it mean at any time? I think like, can the Parshmen who serve who are serving the Alethi, can they transform at will, or do they have to be pushed into it, or
dull form or whatever? Do they got to be prodded into it?
Yeah, it's interesting to me because as far as we've heard from the Alethi, the Parshmen, the normal Parshmen that serve them, that are enslaved or whatever, they don't transform. Like that's not something that they know about. But we also find out that like there's a mate form, which is theoretically how they reproduce. So the ones that the Alethi have must reproduce also, or they wouldn't be around. So I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess we don't know what their lifespan is though. So like
that's true.
Yeah,
I don't know.
For all the answers we got, there are still a lot of questions.
And yeah, I mean, really, it's like that just raises further questions.
Yeah, because I mean, like you say, it doesn't make a lot of sense for the Parshmen unless they have like extremely long lives when not in combat. Like elves from Middle Earth or something. It's like if they don't have to go to mate form to reproduce, if they do have to go to mate form to reproduce, like that would be noticed, wouldn't it?
You would think, right?
And if they didn't have to mate to go to reproduce, or if they don't need to reproduce because they don't age the same way, then I feel like people would be like, man, why aren't these Parshmen getting any older? They never die.
Nate, you got me thinking of them like the men have enslaved the elves, and this is what happens.
Yeah, this is what happens, Larry.
When you meet a stranger in the Alps.
That's right.
So we start with Kaladin and the crew down in the chasm, and they're testing out Kaladin's ability to stick stones to things. And Rock, like, he sticks a stone in place, and Rock jumps up and grabs it and is hanging there. This time he holds me, which I guess implies that previous times he has not held him.
Yeah, I don't feel like they're very good at their experiments, because like they start out with Rock holding on to the rock.
Yeah.
And then they're like, he doesn't need to do that. And I'm like, well, I mean, could you measure? You would probably want to measure if outside force affects
makes a difference, yeah,
the duration of the hold or whatever. But hey, who am I? I'm not a scientist. I'm just some guy.
As they get into it, like bigger problems in their approach become clear. But
yeah, like how can you accurately measure the amount of stormlight in a sphere to be able to measure these things? Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. I think he should just figure out how it works, like not how long he can do it for.
I mean, I feel like it's a good idea to be like, because knowing how long a rock is going to stick there, or how much weight it could hold, and if that would decrease it, like this is all important stuff.
Sure,
but if you can't, like, so I would probably start with, let's get several of these same size gems, and you suck one up, stick a rock, suck another one up, stick a different rock. So first, try to test if it's relatively consistent between
right.
Yeah, and
the
then
cuts of the stone, all that stuff.
If it is, then you can move on to, okay, well, we know that that's consistent. So now if we apply pressure, like somebody's hanging from it, does that change it? Or if it's not consistent, then you're like, okay, well, we'll have to come up with some other ideas for,
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, like, the way that we have seen this Stormlight welded? I don't know.
Wielded is correct, I think.
Wielded. Yeah,
Yep.
the way we have seen this used, the user doesn't seem too concerned about the amount of Stormlight they have left. So in that instance, like you're talking about being able to wield this power in combat, I think your first worry shouldn't be like, how long can I do this for? It should be about getting something like Seth, like getting it done as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Maybe.
And, maybe that's just me talking. I mean, I would like to know the science behind it and like how long a thing can do a thing or whatever, but I don't know that now is the time for them to figure that out. That's something that should be done like in a more controlled environment than what they're currently doing it in.
Yeah, if they could be more controlled, for sure. I don't know that there is a more controlled environment in this case.
Well, not on the Shattered Plains, but I mean, somebody who's awakening the Surges, who could be in like some kind of scientific community, could be much better.
That's true. If you get like a ardent, okay.
So
an ardent who is becoming a Night Radiant or whatever.
Yeah. Too bad the jam didn't make Caps all awaken to Surges. Am I right?
I mean, maybe he did. Maybe.
No, I don't think so.
He's just like, I don't need surges. He just puts the jam on the rock and sticks it to the canyon wall.
He's like, I've got sticky jam.
And I do like, at some point, Kaladin points out, if you want a baseline, shouldn't we see how long the stone remains there without rock hanging from it? And Sigil's just like, well, yeah, but that's less fun.
He's like, I want my science to be fun, damn it.
Really, this is the first time we've seen Sigil display a sense of humor.
It's true.
And you think, well, if Hoyd was your teacher, surely you'd have to develop one.
Yeah, you might go the other way.
Yeah,
what's going on? You might be like, I hate this guy, I hate jokes.
Oh, see, now imagine them traveling around together, and Sigil is like the straight man in every situation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, who's on first?
Oh, Nate, the Vin and Arasur theme song, you do that for Hoyd and Sigil.
Yeah, I could. I'm not gonna.
Touche.
Every week, Joe's going to have to rewrite the Vin and Arasur.
I mean, it's not that much of a rewrite. You just change out some names and find something they do in common.
Okay.
You do it. Everybody else do it in your head. Use your own creative juices.
There you go.
Let's all take a minute so everyone can sing the song to themselves.
Yeah. There you go.
Fucking magical.
It was.
You can rewind that and replay as many times as you need to compose your song.
That's right. Compose your song. You be the artist. Don't use AI. I know that's a hot topic in our Discord right now. Data told me, so don't do it.
So Sigil's writing numbers down, and like the other bridgemen are kind of uncomfortable. It's like, oh man, that's a dude. He's writing stuff. And but Kaladin notes that fortunately we've got like Rock and Sigil and Lopen. They're all from like other countries that don't care as much. Herdaz, where Lopen is from, is technically Vorin, but they have their own brand of it. It says so. That makes me curious. And Rock's like, hey, you said there was other stuff you could do, right? And Lopen's like, yeah, fly. And Kaladin's like, I can't fly. Walk on walls. Yeah, I tried that. Nearly broke my head. No flying or walking on walls. I need to impress the women, Lopen says. I don't think sticking rocks to walls will be enough. And I love Sigil's like, well, I mean, it defies the laws of nature. I think that's pretty impressive. And Lopen's like, you don't know many Herdazian women, do you?
Lopen's like, nerd!
And then they point out, oh, hey, there's that other thing Kaladin can do where, like, he made all the arrows fly at him. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
And Kaladin's like, well, I've never done that, like, intentionally. I don't even know how to do it. And the rock falls off, and I love that Sigil's like, okay, 87 seconds. What did you guys get? And Kaladin's like, wait, we were supposed to be counting? And Rock just shrugs. And Lopen goes, 91 seconds. You're welcome. Which, you guys are off by, like, 4 seconds. I feel like not very good.
Sigil just looks at them and is like, you all suck at science.
And then they start pointing out the problems where it's like, I need a clock for precise timing, but those are expensive. We have no way to measure stormlight. And Kaladin's like, well, I mean, chips, the gemstones are precisely measured before they're put in glass. And he's like, well, yeah, but what if they hold different amounts? We know uncut ones hold less than cut ones, so does how it's cut make a difference? And Stormlight fades from the spheres over time. How many days has it been since that one was infused? How much light has it lost? Like, we don't know. And then Lopin's like, well, I mean, that means we should just test other things, right? Like, can you stick me to a wall? And Cal's like, I don't know. And so he decides to try.
I love it. Like, before he does it, he looks at Sigzil, and Sigzil's like, fuck it, why not?
I mean, so we gotta figure this out somehow.
And so, yeah, he puts some Stormlight on Lopin's outfit and sticks him against the wall, and he just stays hanging there.
I feel like if you could disrobe, because he didn't stick Lopin to the wall, he stuck his outfit to the wall. Whereas later he actually like sticks rock to the rock, pun intended.
And so Kaladin starts to realize, like, this, okay, all of a sudden there's all sorts of useful things. Like, could I put light on the floor and enemies run across it and get stuck? Could I stop a wagon? Could I stick my spear to an enemy shield and pull it out of their hands? Like, there's all sorts of stuff that this could be useful for that I've never even thought about.
He's playing Zelda Tears of the Kingdom with the fuse mechanic and trying to figure out the best way to implement it.
Ka-choom! Is there a timer involved though?
And Lopin gives
I think so.
Lopin tells a bad joke about what did the one-armed Herdazian do to the man who stuck him to the wall? Nothing, because he was armless.
Good one.
And
Tish.
Good one, Lopin.
Lopin's like, yeah, my mom always told me you gotta learn to laugh at these things before others do. She's a very wise woman. I once brought her the head of a chull. Cal's like, wait, what? Yeah, chull head. Very good to eat. And then Rocky's like, no, he's right. The head's the best part. And everyone else is like, all right then. Moving right past that. And it's time to experiment. And so we cut to like them in the middle of like a fight. Lopin, Rock, and Sigzil versus Kaladin. And Kaladin starts using his powers to like do various things. Puts some light on a spear and throws it at Rock to stick to stuff. And makes Lopin's spear like stick. He puts Stormlight on it and then shoves the tip into a pile of wood and bones and things. So it's unwieldy. And really, he just wipes the floor with them, using his powers along the way. It goes really well. Although when it's over, Kaladin's like, I mean, I probably could have just beaten him regular, like as fast, because Lopin is frankly not that good with a spear. He's only got one arm. I almost had you, Rock says, as he's like stuck to the ground. Slippery as a fifth son you are. And he's like stuck Lopin to a wall again.
I want to know what that cultural reference is. Slippery as a fifth son. Like, what does that mean? Gotta watch those fifth sons. They're slippery.
They're just all greased up.
Rock says he's the wrong son to be a soldier. That's for fourth son or below. Third son cannot be wasted in battle.
Yeah, but it's the fifth son who is slippery in battle.
Yeah, exactly.
The fourth and sixth son? No, you guys suck at battle.
And I love, didn't stop you from throwing a tree at my head. Was small tree and very hard head. There you go. And meanwhile, Lopin is still stuck to the wall. He's like, yeah, just leave the Herdazian stuck to the wall. The view's wonderful.
See, that's the first time I really got an Australian impression from Lopin. Like, the probably the most mainstream comparison I can draw is like the latest Mortal Kombat movie with Kano.
Yeah.
He's like in like his opening scene where Reptile attacks them all, and he's tied to the chair, and like Sonya and original dude run off to fight Reptile, and Kano's just like, oh yeah, sure, just leave me tied to the fucking chair, whatever. I was just like, oh my god, that's the most Australian thing I've seen in a Hollywood movie in a very long time. And then Lopin does it here. It's like, oh yeah, just fucking leave me stuck up here. View's great, by the way. Like, oh yeah, 100%. That's an Aussie thing.
Now I want to listen to how that sounds in the audiobook. My other hand, the one that was cut off long ago, eaten by a fearsome beast, it is making a rude gesture towards you right now. I thought you'd wish to know, so you can be prepared to be insulted. I love Lopin. The Lopin. He's great. And so, like, Kaladin has that thought that he's like, I mean, I probably could have just beat them using the extra speed and strength of Stormlight instead of, the various tricks. But familiarity. I need to know these abilities as well as I know my spear. So, practice them. Get them in the toolbox so that on the spur of the moment, if one is more useful than your spear, you'll be able to use it. Which is exactly what we talked about an episode or two ago, where it was like Kaladin needs to learn how to use his powers. And so finally he's on the same page.
Yep. And he's like, I must use these powers for good. Sir, Amaram has just arrived in camp. It's like, Dallin, I was just like...
Get me my spear.
No. It's even more petty. Dallin, I was like, where's Amaram? He was supposed to be here for our meeting an hour ago. And they go to Amaram's quarters, and he's like literally stuck to his bed. He can't get out.
He's
like, wait, how did this happen? I don't know.
I just laid down, and all of a sudden I couldn't get back up. Kaladin like snuck in there and put light in his bed.
Oh, could Kaladin use Stormlight to like stick his lips together so he can't talk?
Ooh, nice. I like this idea.
Could you imagine like that sort of factor?
Can't eat. Yeah, suck it, guy we don't like.
It's pretty kind of horrific when you think about it.
It is, yes. Teft shows up, and basically he tries to convince Kaladin to give the new recruits to somebody else to train. And Kaladin's like, nope, it's your job. You're going to do fine. And Teft's like, okay. He says Kaladin says there's 10 orders of Knights Radiant, right? Do you know much about the others? And Teft's like, not really. I know the orders didn't always get along. And then Kaladin's like, what would you say if you heard that somebody wanted to refound the Knights Radiant? Not me, just somebody, somewhere. And Teft goes,
sometime.
Well, I'd say that guy's an idiot.
You're an idiot.
And so basically, like, Teft is like, are you going to come out? Basically, you're going to go public with this? And Syl is kind of expects that he will. And Kaladin's just like, we're going to have to we have to be careful about this. And he kind of doesn't really commit more one way or the other. And then he tells Syl, like, I want to practice more first, but maybe. And here we have, even in Bridge 4, Moash was the only one who didn't treat Kaladin like some mythological savior, Herald. Him and maybe Rock. So there's that at least. We were talking about before, like, Rock doesn't seem to idolize him, and sure enough.
I was like, what's this maybe business?
He just swung a log at you.
He mocks you for your hard head.
And then they get up there, and somebody says, one of the soldiers is like, Stormblessed, have you heard the news? A hero has come to the Shattered Plains. He's going to meet with Bright Lord Cole and perhaps support him. And you remember the title of this chapter is Hero, so now we know who that is referencing.
What a hero this guy is.
Yeah, as soon as they said it's a hero, I'm just like, all right, that's definitely fucking Amaram.
Yeah. This is it, guys. This is where my prediction comes true, right? Remember I was like, maybe Kaladin and Yasna will hook up. Because her dad was like, oh, you need Amaram. And she's like, nah, I like this Kaladin guy. And Kaladin's like, screw you, Amaram, I'm taking your woman.
That's how you get him back.
Yeah.
That's just how Yasna gets him back. It's like, you want me to hook up with Amaram? I'm going to find the guy Amaram hates the most and hook up with him instead. No, he's within walking distance.
We know that you can tell from his paperwork that Amaram's the one who sold him into slavery. So I feel like Dalinar should at least be able to have a question about, like, what happened here?
Did Dalinar even see the paperwork?
I was about to say, I doubt
fair.
Dalinar
Maybe
has
not.
seen the paperwork. He just bought the slaves from Sadeas. So.
Yeah, he's like, I gave Sadeas a sword. I took all his men. Like he took a lot of them, like a couple thousand, didn't he?
Almost 1,000, I think, was the number.
Yeah. So it's like do you think he's had the time to not even go through because he can't read. He'd have to get his scribes to dictate the paperwork for all his slaves to him if he did. I don't think he had time for that.
No, that's a good point. Yeah,
doesn't sound like something somebody as busy as him would have time for.
He's got shit to do. He's got to kick Elcar in the ass again.
Yeah, right in the ass, right in the chest, right in the old ass chest. Is that a thing?
A king is my pinata. Boom.
All we get here is the soldier says a name, and Kaladin like freaks out and starts running. And he sees a banner hanging in the air above some troops. And he's like, no, I don't believe it. And he rushes
believe it.
He rushes into where Dalinar is. The Blackthorn clasped hands with a tall man. Old friend, it's been too long, the guy says. And Dalinar's like, oh yeah, way too long. I'm glad you finally made your way here. I heard you even found yourself a shard blade.
Oh yeah, found.
And he like summons his shard blade and says, oh yeah, I took this from an assassin who dared to try and kill me on the field of battle.
Yeah, took it from an assassin, sure.
God, this is just as bad as Sadeas going. It's like, I watched Dalinar torn apart in front of my eyes. The sigh.
And so, yes, it is indeed Amaram, standing there holding the shard blade that killed Kaladin's friends and got others of them killed. So, this is not good for him.
No, it's not.
That's where we leave him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for Sadeas. Means he's no longer the top of Kaladin's shit list.
Yeah, I was thinking, I don't know why this just popped in my head. When you said, I don't believe it, I was like, I don't believe it. Believe it or not, you're still going to burn, you son of a bitch. That's a movie.
That's some movie. So we
That
do
movie's
get
25.
on the
You're not
interludes
wrong.
main page, we do get the 3 names of the prospective characters for these interludes: Eshonai, Yim, and Risen. But as I mentioned, there are 4 interludes here. So what does that mean? I guess we'll find out.
This does mean it's like, aw, no Seth.
Doesn't sound like it.
Like,
I guess we haven't seen him yet this book, have we?
yeah, no, considering like the last book ended on you must go and kill Dalinar now. I'm like, Seth is taking his sweet fucking time.
Right? I mean, I guess we don't know exactly the timing of that conversation. It
I
could have
guess.
been like later than everything else that happened in that book, but
Yeah, and I guess like, Yasna and Shalom are traveling from the same place and they haven't made it here either.
also true.
For various reasons. So I don't know how long it takes to get from Kharbranth to Shattered Plains, but it does seem weird. It's like, especially because like everyone knows the Assassin in White is active again. It really doesn't seem like people seem to care that much.
Well, we know that like the king of Yakaved prepared for it. He had like guys hiding under his dinner table ready to pop out in full armor and stuff. So
Yeah, I don't know. I expected this news to be much more of a bomb to drop in the Alethi war camp than it actually wound up being. Like, I expected Elhokar to lose his fucking mind. I expected the High Princes to just go, oh shit, maybe we do need to start. I expected there to be rumblings, just like something's not gone very wrong. The neighboring king was assassinated, and no one seems to bat an eyelid. The most we got was Navani telling Dalinar, and Dalinar's like, oh, for fuck's sake, him again. I'm like, this is the dude who kills your king? Why does no one give a shit that he's out there killing other kings?
maybe they're hoping, like Kaladin's crew was hoping, that it's like they killed our king first, so he's moved on to somebody else now, right? Like, we're done.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think, like, for someone who is terrified of assassins because his father was assassinated, the news that his father's assassin has come back should have rocked Elhokar more than we've actually seen it do.
Yeah, that's a fair point. He should probably be interested in chasing the guy down too. I remember you guys theorized once the news got out that he might just like head off to a different country and take his whole army to hunt this guy down.
Yeah.
But we know that the Parshendi did take responsibility for hiring an assassin to kill the king, and we're told in this interlude that Eshonai was part of the group that decided this. We have to do this. So it's not some misunderstanding. They seriously did arrange the assassination of Gavilar.
Yep.
They sure did.
So the rhythm of resolve thrummed in the back of Eshonai's mind as she got to the center plateau of the Shattered Plains. Narok, home. And so she's wearing her shard plate and walking around. They managed to get the gem heart this time, and she's looking for Dalinar. Where are you, Blackthorn? Why have you not come to face me? She's like, I thought I saw him on that run a week or so ago, but I don't know. Which we know Dalinar saw her on a run, so maybe we're talking about the same run. And so apparently she hangs back in case, some of her people get in trouble and need the Shardbearer's help. But her leg is still hurt pretty badly from when Kaladin messed her up while she was fighting Dalinar. The city they're in is like ruins, basically, but they've moved out here to escape the Alethi, basically. Get out here where they can't be found. It says that she had discovered similar ruins in her explorations, such as the one she'd been on when they first encountered humans 7 years ago. So she was one of the first people to meet the humans. And now she's trapped out here. She loves exploring the wide world, and now she can't go anywhere. She sees some stuff and attunes to the rhythm of the lost, a soft beat yet still violent with sharp, separate notes. So throughout the chapter, she's just attuning to various rhythms. And we know that we've been told they like sing as they fight. We've been told that one of them like sings a song and you can pass another one out of earshot of that first one singing the same song. So that seems to be a reference to these rhythms.
Yeah. Like they attune to something and then it just automatically seems to like be a song in there. Maybe not instinctually, but almost, I don't know. It almost seems like hereditarily. It's like they attune to something and they're like, okay, this is, I now am singing this thing.
The feeling that it gives me here, at least, is that like when you say attune to it, it makes me think as like it's something that's out there. Like the rhythm of the lost it exists and she tunes into it when she wants to express that feeling. And then she tunes into something else for a different feeling.
Yeah. It almost and way they describe it later, it almost seems like their transformations happen the same way. They somehow like find some sort of rhythm to attune to that allows them to transform. At least that's the way it's described a little bit later. That's the way it sounds to me.
Yeah, this might be an odd comparison to draw, but it made me think of like, birds flying south and like feeling the Earth's gravitational pull. It's like these are like some sort of force that exists in the world that they just sort of twig into and have been able to use for their physiological changes or like their mentalities or whatever.
Interesting.
That's actually a cooler theory than you might think at first glance, because if you think about it that way, then you could say that their transformations are like in physiological adaptations to their environment, right? So it's like, we got to create more of us, so let's transform into this mate form, which is more suited to having children. That's actually a pretty cool idea. I like it.
Yeah, just the thing that made me think of it is just like the fact that you can have a couple of them singing the same song even though they're separated and they can't possibly hear each other. So maybe it is like some sort of undercurrent force,
right?
Somehow that they've just sort of twigged into.
Yeah, I'm sure it has to do with shard magic.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
And then, on a completely different but still interesting note, we're told that most of the Shattered Plains had once been populated, and this in the center was where the largest city had been. Now it's all ruins, but this whole area used to have people, Parshendi, who knows, living on it. So it's just like we're getting lots of little pieces of stuff here. Listeners is what they call themselves, we learn. It's like Parshendi, that's a human word. We're the listeners.
Human horn.
Both Malin, human horn, God. Both Malin and Femalin raise their hands to her. So they have different gender words, Malin and Femalin.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they sound pretty much the same. It's like, well, I don't want to call them male and female. What are we going to call them, Brandon? Malin and Femalin? Perfect.
So she goes to the Hall of Art, where soldiers are trying to paint, and they're not very good at it.
I like how they're, which I mean, it may be completely valid, but I just don't understand why. I like how they're like, what they're doing is basically stretching themselves out of the norm for whatever form they're in to like see if they can figure out other forms from that. Like, I don't know the research that goes into it or how it all works, but it's just like a really kind of kooky idea.
Yeah, 100%. It's just like, all right, we don't have other forms to do these sort of things. Let's try and just sort of, make them, I guess, or see if we can do it in these forms. Like, all right, this is a fascinating idea. Like, everything about this culture is just like really interesting.
Yeah, but fascinating, Captain, and logical too.
That we need some help. But apparently the soldier form is called war form, where they grow this armor out of their arms, shoulders, chest, and head.
We'd heard before, it's like, it looks as though the armor grows out of them. So it's nice to get confirmation of that, because that really explains why Shen got so upset about, and the Parshendi got so pissed about him wearing the bones. Like, they're wearing the armor. It's like, oh, you actually are just wearing pieces of their body. Like, you're wearing dead bodies. You're not just pulling off armor.
Mm-hmm.
We sort of guessed that already, but it's nice to have confirmation.
Eshernai says, you're getting better to the rhythm, speaking to the rhythm of praise. So the way they talk is even to whatever rhythm they're tuned into, which I guess would make like their speech patterns seem musical if they're always to like some rhythm. And he hums to skepticism. It's like,
just really goes, no.
I just realized one of these books is called Rhythm of War, right?
Yep.
Oh.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da. We got it.
But it's actually kind of interesting to me that it's like, not only do they tune into these things and they speak in these rhythms, he doesn't even speak here. He just like hums at her, and that because of the tune that he is tuned into, that expresses to her his skepticism. Like, she hears a little chunk of hummed music and understands what he's expressing. And so Eshernai is a general. We find out she's wearing war form for battle, but she likes work form better, more limber and rugged. They're trying They're trying to do something in the Hall of Art, and it's not working. She says, no spren, and the guy says, not a one to the rhythm of mourning. Keep trying. We shall not lose this battle for lack of effort. And he's like, well, what's the point? Having artists won't save us from the swords of the humans. He's like, artists won't help, but my sister is confident that she's close to discovering new forms. If we can discover how to create artists, it might teach us more about the process of changing, and that might help her. So there you go.
Seems like a fun little parallel, really. Like, they're trying to discover something that was lost. Dalinar's trying to discover something that was lost with the Radiance.
Yeah, but here it almost seems sadder to me because like this is like an intrinsic part of them.
Yeah.
Although like she asks like no spren, so maybe the spren are involved here also, in which case maybe it's very similar to what's going on with the Radiance.
Could be.
Mate form was better for creating art, but that came with a whole host of other problems. Keeping those types focused on anything productive was almost impossible.
They just get so horned up.
Other than that, they know dull form and nimble form. Nimble form is a general purpose form used for nurturing young and doing the kind of work that just requires dexterity. The old songs spoke of hundreds of forms. Now they knew only 5. Well, 6 if you count slave form, the form with no spren, no soul, no song. That's the form the humans are accustomed to that they call Parshmen. So she says that's like an absence of any form. And so that's what the Parshmen are. That's why they're different from the Parshendi, because they have no form, which implies if they could somehow figure out how to take a form, then they would be the same as these other ones, maybe.
Yeah, so that's when Shen will get his Rise of the Planet of the Apes movement. He just suddenly shapeshifts into some other kind of form and goes, no!
Yeah, there you go. And yes, we find out she's their last shard bearer. Then she comes across a group of 3 mate forms splashing in the water, 2 female and 1 male. So here we have
so annoying.
Here we have 2 other gender terms.
So she's Katie Holmes coming across Bruce Wayne in the pool with the ladies. That's what you're saying.
There you go. And she makes them get out of the water, and they're all They mutter to the rhythm of irritation. Meanwhile, the workers are singing to the rhythm of praise in their appreciation of Eshonai because they don't like confrontation.
The rhythm of praise, I imagine, is like a gospel choir sort of song.
Maybe, yeah. She scolds the mate forms, and she's like, I don't get people who like just staying in mate form. Like, most couples change and then sequester themselves away for a year and then come back. Like, who would want to be like that all the time? And then she's like, well, I mean, the humans do it. She hadn't understood early on that, like, the humans don't change forms. They're just always ready to mate, always distracted by sexual urges. How can you live like that? Jeez.
Eshonai, it's real velour.
Zach Brannigan is the height of that.
What'd you say? Erotic.
Erotic.
And so, let's see. And she and the others had ordered the murder of the Alethi king in a desperate gambit to stop the listener gods from returning. And it was mentioned earlier in the chapter that they came to the Shattered Plains to escape their gods. And it had worked. The Alethi king had not been able to put his plan into action, but now they were being slowly destroyed. So, geez, what was he going to do?
So I'm so confused. Like, they killed Gavilar to stop the listener, so to stop their own gods from returning.
Yep.
So I'm so confused. Which shard are they about? Like, was Odium their god, and they're trying to stop Odium coming back? Is that the implication?
Could be.
Listener god.
I mean, it doesn't say gods singular. It says gods plural and lowercase g, but
that's true.
So yeah, this is an interesting puzzle.
You know, I'm forming a theory, and I'll save it for predicaments, but I'm forming a theory.
Okay.
Right.
We will get to it in predicaments then. We also find out that the big craters that the humans have made their war camps in used to be where her people lived before they abandoned them for the security of the plains. Her sister is Venli, and Venli and her associates are the scholars of the Parshendi. Nimble form, they don't actually have a form for scholarship, but nimble form is the best they can do for now.
Call it brain form. Brain make people dumb. No, Leela. Brain make people smart.
Big brain and winning again. Now I am leaving Earth for no reason.
Venli, and in nimble form, you have long hair strands with no helmet to block them, like with the war form, that go down to her waist. So very long hair in this form.
You know, I know they had beards, but for some reason I never pictured them having hair as well.
Right?
And now it's like, okay, I think I need to see some more fan art of like Parshendi with hair, because like I'm struggling to picture the crab people with hair.
Yeah, it seems like some forms have hair and some don't. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it makes me think of Kit Fisto. Maybe it's like tentacly hair, but probably not.
Ooh.
One second.
Oh, and Escher and I looks like Davy Jones.
Yeah. Or in Mortal Kombat, like Cyrax, like the weird like cord hair.
Oh, yeah, like the Predator style.
Yeah, Predator style hair. There you go.
Venli and her once mate Demid, they had been mate forms together. They hadn't had any children. In war, if they were on the battlefield, they would have been a war pair, which we learned earlier about, like, the Parshendi fight in pairs. So this is how it works. Like, I guess you are a pair with a person and of the opposite. I mean, there seem to be multiple genders, but so you.
Unless you're that dude in mate form, and then you got another one.
That's true. But so you fight together, you do whatever together. Now they're a research pair or something. And Eshonai says, "We won the battle. The gem heart is ours. We will continue to eat." Dalinar Colin did not come, and Venli's like, "Yeah, he's not going to face you again. You nearly killed him last time." And she's like, "What would you even do if you could talk to him?" "I'd sue for peace. We murdered his brother. We slaughtered King Gavilar on the night when he invited us into his home. That's not something they're going to forget or forgive." Which, I mean, she's not completely wrong.
I mean, also it's the Alethi. It's not like they need an excuse.
Also true. So that night, it had been a desperate plan made between herself and 5 others. She was part of it because of her knowledge of the humans. All of them had voted the same. Kill the man, kill him, and risk destruction. Now all the others who had made that decision with her were dead. So really, she's the last remaining person, other than Seth, who's behind the killing of Gavilar. And then Venli says, "I have discovered the secret of storm form." And Eshonai was like, "What? What the You're supposed to be working on like a diplomat or scholar form or something." And she's like, No. We can't make a deal with humans. We need the ancient powers." And Eshonai goes like, "Venli are gods." And Venli says, "The humans have surge binders." Like, maybe not. It could have been an honor blade. So there's a discussion that I don't think we understand.
Yeah, I've got no idea. I'm like, hang on, what? First we had shard blades, now we have honor blades, and honor was a shard. I'm so what?
Yeah.
Is that
what?
Am I following that train of thought correctly?
I mean, those are things, yeah. And I think we've heard the term honor blades before. Like we were told in the first book, I think that it was like some legendary something or other. Hold on, I'm gonna bring it up now.
Righto.
Honor blade. Okay, there's a section where Yasna says, "What about intelligence without ignorance, finding truth while not dismissing the possibility of being wrong?" And Shallan says, "A mythological treasure, Brightness, much like seeking the Dawn Shards or the Honor Blades."
Still tells us nothing.
Yeah, no, it's some sort of mythological something or other. And presumably it's a blade. It's called an Honor Blade, so.
Yeah, like you call something an honor blade, I don't think he's gonna walk out with a fucking minigun.
Hey, it could happen. Wouldn't that be an impressive
exciting
weapon to have?
Yeah. That would really liven things up. What is this? What are these projectiles he's shooting at us?
the Alethi going on a canyon run, and it's like, oh, there's only like a dozen Parshendi. Like, this is gonna be no trouble at all. What are those things they're holding? And they just open fire.
Yeah, that's what storm form actually is. It's a storm of bullets.
Bullet storm. Okay, yeah.
In a hail of bullets.
Venli tells her that with enough people in storm form, we could control a high storm or even summon one. And Eshonai says, "I remember the song that speaks of this form. It was a thing of the gods." And she's like, "Most of the forms are related to the gods in some way. Can we really trust the accuracy of words sung so long ago?"
It's true. Somehow.
I mean, the ability to summon a high storm, that does sound like a pretty bonkers ability to have, considering what we've seen them do.
"Centuries ago, we escaped both our gods and the humans. Our ancestors left behind civilization, power, and might in order to secure freedom. With storm form, we can destroy the Alethi army."
I mean, probably.
Well, I mean, it can't hurt. That's for damn sure if you can summon a high storm or control one. And so Venli says, look, I want to bring this to the 5, and I want you to be on our side. And Venli says, okay, I'll think about it. And that's the end of that chapter. So much to like take in with us. Finally, we've been talking for a book and the first part of this one now about how we just don't know anything about the Parshendi, what motivates them, why they do the things that they do. Now we're starting to get some ideas finally.
Like, not that I really had any doubt that the Parshendi were not the evil that the Alethi make them out to be, because the Alethi are kind of jerks. Not even kind of, they are jerks. But it just seems like the Parshendi they just want to live and be free, and you guys are fucking them up constantly. And it seems like even the reason they killed Gavilar was because they were going to get fucked up. And it's like, man, give the Parshendi a break. They're starting to remind me of like the aliens from District 9. It's like, we just want to be free, man.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, because it does really sound like it's like we just want to live and do our own thing. But on the other hand, like nobody else that we know of, at least, has any idea why they killed Gavilar.
True, they could have explained themselves better.
Yeah, they were invited to sign a treaty and then assassinated the king on the night that the treaty was signed, which is really messed up. And then they were just like, yes, we did it. And we were told that those 3 guys, the leaders of the Parshendi, said that. They came up there like, it was us, we did it, and then said nothing else.
Yeah.
Even when they were hanged.
Yeah. It's like they probably could have played that better. But maybe it's a case of like, if we tell them why we killed Gavilar, someone else might try and do what he was planning on doing, whatever that was. So
yeah. They obviously got their own reasons for things.
Yeah. It's just a shit situation all around.
Yeah, it's a real shit sandwich.
Yeah. Shit fries on the side.
So I don't disagree with you, but like the Alethi have no way to know that they had perfectly legitimate reasons. So I can understand what they're doing also. Even if you're right, the Alethi are generally kind of assholes.
Yeah, it's just like we've spent like a long time just being exposed to the fact that Alethi culture is kind of shit, especially for like dark-eyed people in general. So it's kind of like I just want to change.
Yeah, it's like, we don't like the racists. Can we move on to like be on somebody else's side?
Maybe we should all be on the Parshendi side. Maybe that'll solve things.
Yeah,
depending on what they're trying to prevent, we might be.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I mean, we could have, if it had happened as I predicted way back when, and Kaladin had ditched the Alethi camp and gone off to live with the Parshendi ages ago, maybe we'd have sorted this shit out by now. Who knows?
Yeah, it's true.
So, in any case, we move on to our last chapter, Yim, and Yim is an Iriali, or a guy from Erie, where I believe that's where Adelin's mom was from, we learned. And he is a cobbler. He's sitting there trimming up a wood block that's going to be the basis of a shoe. And it turns out he's thinking that he needs a lot more kids-sized shoes lately. And we find out that there's something here, something moving, and it's a spren that's been coming around a lot lately. But it looks, the description of how it looks is really interesting to me. Like he's never seen it before. It says like a piece of crystal suspended in a sunbeam. So this doesn't sound like any of the spren we've seen so far. And so Yim's sitting there like, yeah, what I'm doing, I'm making a shoe. And the voice is like, shoe. It's like, yeah, for children. Children, little people. And he's like, yeah, that kind of thing. And then the spren all of a sudden gets, it says more intense, and it says he comes. And then Yim sees somebody outside. He's like, oh crap, is it the watcher in the military coat? But no, it's just a kid. And Yim's like, hey, no need to be scared, come on in. And it is a kid who lives on the street where he only has a pair of trousers, no shirt, though that was common here in Erie, where both days and nights are usually warm. But his feet are pretty messed up. And the kid says, they say you don't charge nothing. And he says, well, they're wrong, but I think you'll find my cost bearable. All I want is to hear your story. And the kid's like, yeah, they said you was strange. And Yim goes, they were right. And he has the kid sit down. And it says that the kid, like, since he's Iriali, he has golden hair and skin. The skin less so. You needed the light to be just right to see it.
Who are the magical people we heard mentioned with the golden hair before?
Well, I brought it up previously when we talked about how the Iriali have golden hair because it came up with in relation to Adolin's mom. But there was a story back in The Lost Metal where the crazy conspiracy reporter lady was like, it's those people with the golden hair. They're fairies or something, right? There's some group living in the city, not Ellendale, the other Bilming, I think, that had golden hair.
Okay.
But we never actually met any of them, so it's hard to know if what the deal is there.
Those damn broadsheets.
And so the kid, one of his feet is hurt, and he's like, why do you want to hear my story? You're older than anyone I know. Grandpa old. You must know everything already.
Grandpa old.
So the kid has a nasty cut on the bottom of his foot, already infected, crawling with rot spren. And the kid's like, yeah, I need to get some shoes. Can't keep on without them. And Yim whispers, presumably to the spren, because he was calling it my friend earlier. He goes, my friend, I believe I'm going to need your help. And he takes out some medicine, which he knows is not going to be enough to heal this on its own. But it's a good distraction, basically, from what he's really doing. Where he pulls in some stormlight from some spheres that he's got. And while he's applying medication to the boy's foot, the glow is in his hand as he's rubbing the kid's foot. And then it disappears, and the rot spren flee from the wound. And the cut has suddenly scabbed over and is returning to normal. So he has some sort of stormlight-based healing power, which is pretty cool. And the kid's like, wow, that's some good medicine. Like, yeah, totally.
Only the best for this random shoe cobbler.
Uh-huh.
And this street urchin that he's putting it on.
And so the kid's like, why do you want my story? Like, you're giving me shoes for free, really? And Yim explains that it's like, okay, long ago, there was only one. One knew everything but had experienced nothing. So one became many, us, people, so that it could experience things. And he's like, the kid's like, you mean God? Like, I mean, you could think about it that way, but not exactly. I accept no God. You should accept no God. We are Iriali and part of the long trail of which this is the fourth land. Everything eventually all will be gathered back in when the seventh land is attained. It's like, all right.
Deeply confusing.
Yeah. And so Yim tries to explain that it's like, we're all part of the same thing. It's all about perspective. From up close, the fingers on a hand seem different, but when you look at it farther away, you see how they're all part of the same thing. And then he thinks, oh, that's probably a little complicated for this kid. But the kid is like, why do you get to be the finger with the expensive ring and I got to be the pinky with a broken fingernail? So he gets the metaphor right away. And so, yeah, the guy starts putting together some shoes for him, and they have this discussion, and he tries to make the kid understand, like, this perspective that the Iriali people are supposed to have. And eventually the kid's like, I mean, if we're all part of the same, then you don't need to give stuff away, like shoes, because it doesn't matter, right? So you wouldn't hit yourself in the face, would you? If I make your life better, I make my own life better. And the kid goes, that's crazy talk. I think you're just a nice person. And then he leaves. And Yim, the spren comes out again, and Yim's like, hey, thanks. Thanks for your help. And the spren goes, he's still here. And there's a guy in his back room, the place where he sleeps. It's like, wait, why is that door open? Uh-oh. It is a guy with dark makabaki skin, except for a pale crescent on his cheek. He's wearing a uniform, thick gloves, and the guy says, I had to look very hard to discover your indiscretion. And he explains that Yim, as a young man, drank and partied away his inheritance, but that's not the crime. Murder is a crime. And Yim says, I didn't know. They told me that I delivered the bottle of wine and the vintage was supposed to be the message, but it turns out the wine was poisoned. So I guess he's an accomplice to murder. And Yim says, I didn't know. And the guy's like, you're guilty nonetheless. And he summons a shard blade, and Yim tries to run for it, but he's an old man now. He can't get very far without tiring himself out. And as he realizes he's about to die, he's like, I guess it's my time. May one find this memory pleasing. And he tries to, he's like, it was 40 years ago, my dude. And the guy says, justice does not expire, as he shoves the shard blade through his chest. Experience ended. So yeah, that's
justice.
Pretty fucking dark. And it does sound, it's like a very vigilante sounding situation. There's a guy out here getting street justice with a shard blade.
Yeah, it's the Punisher, but the Makabaki Punisher.
I don't know if the Punisher would care about this guy and the crime he committed 40 years ago. Maybe.
If it was murder, yeah, he would.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, only Frank Castle's murders for murder. That's, you know.
Well, he was an unknowing accomplice to the murder. Like, come on. Anyway, so yeah, those were our chapters, and we found out a few interesting little bits. So, as we move into predicaments, I will give you guys, we're going to read 3 more chapters for next time. That's the last 2 of these interludes, and then the first chapter of part 2. So I will give you guys the names, and you can try to make some predicaments. The next chapter is called Risen, whatever you want to pronounce her name. And
she was the one who had the grass, yeah?
Yep.
Oh, nice.
And then Interlude 4 is called Last Legion. And then chapter 13 is called The Day's Masterpiece. So there you go. Where are we going? What's going to happen?
I've got no freaking idea on those chapters. The Day's Masterpiece. God, I don't know. Well, yeah, so last we saw Risen, she was tending her grass and traveling with her master, so I guess maybe they'll have come out of Shin by now, and maybe we'll see what happens to the grass when it's exposed to the other side of those mountains. Yeah, I don't know. I've got no idea what any of this means. I guess the other interlude will probably be Escher and I, since Yim is not coming back. At least we don't think so. I don't know. Yeah, like the prediction I had was not based off any of that. Was in regards to Escher and I, and I think this is going to be a long-term one. I have nothing to base this on but gut feeling. But I feel like the ruins that Escher and the Parshendi are living in are the ruins of Irithiru.
Okay.
Yeah, I just something about like the importance of location. Like they've retreated. They don't even seem to know why they've retreated here. But I feel like this is a place where some significant stuff is going down. So maybe they'll discover like that. No one knows what these ruins are for. So I think we talk about lost cities a bit in these books, and the road to Irithiru has come up quite a bit. So maybe that's here. Maybe we've been here all along. Yeah, that's what I got there.
Interesting possibility. Yasna seemed convinced that the Irithiru was not on the Shattered Plains, but that doesn't mean she was right.
Well, yeah, no, Yasna has been wrong at times, but maybe that's Shallan's thing. It's like, she's learning that Yasna is wrong about things. And and when Yasna comes back, because we all know that she will, Shallan can happily present this to her, and that'll just be a nice little moment.
You were wrong. I was right.
I don't really have much else to really talk about. That was just something that occurred to me when reading about these ruins. I'm like, there's got to be some significance to these ruins. They can't just be like an old abandoned city. I still have the feeling that the Shattered Plains was where Odium landed, and that's why the plains are shattered, like so long ago. So maybe he was the one who wiped Irithiru out. Maybe we'll learn more. Maybe we won't. Who knows? It's a book. We don't know. You don't know. What am I talking about? Moving on.
Moving on to what?
No.
Okay, fair enough. No, it's a decent prediction. We find out there's a city out here that no one knew about. So, and Yasna and Shallan are looking for a city. So yeah,
Well, it just seems like the Alethi don't really seem to know much about the Shattered Plains.
No, they don't, for sure.
Yeah, maybe we just learn more over the course of it. We'll see.
Yeah. Oh, well, trying to think through everything here. So the first chapter, I don't know, maybe we'll pick back up with her, probably not right where we left off, because it's been some time has passed if that original interlude was taking place at the same time as the other events. But the merchant, maybe they may still be going about their way, but maybe there's some kind of like surge binding business going on with her, and she's finding power as well. That'd be interesting. It'd be interesting if like every interlude guy, including like the Clear Lake guy, was all like, "Hey, I've got this little spren buddy now, and I've got powers." That'd be fun. Clear Lake guy having powers all of a sudden. And so I'm gonna go with we're picking back up with her. Search binding stuff's going on, And then the interlude after that, we haven't had repeat characters in an interlude section before, so I don't know that it would be Eshonai again. I'd like it if it was, but I don't see that happening. I'm going to guess that maybe we'll go back to Clear Lake guy and something's going on with him. That'd be fun. Or Pure Lake. Clear Lake, what are they called?
The Pure Lake, yeah.
Pure Lake, my bad.
I'd like to see that guy again, too. He was funny.
Yeah, he was funny. And, somebody unassuming like him to have powers would be kind of fun. So, yeah, we'll go back to her and then Pure Lake guy. And then after that, I think we're going to head back to Shalon for a minute for the first chapter, maybe. Well, actually, we don't know. Now that I say that, we don't know the section header for the next section. So it could list people, and Shalon may not be one of them.
Yeah. Should I read that off since I gave you a chapter in that?
You're the guy. It's up to you, man.
Yep. I guess you guys are going to read it when we get to this next one. So sure. Okay. Here. Yep. The list of characters for part 2 is Shalon, Kaladin, Adolin, and one more. Can anyone guess?
Navani.
The way you phrase that makes me think it's not Dalinar, but
Dalinar seems like the obvious guess, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be asking us if it was, so I'm gonna go with Wit.
The fourth one is Sadeas.
Oh,
interesting.
He's the worst. Okay.
There, see, he can have his name on the fucking list of perspective characters. Why wasn't it the?
Oh, Sadeas, you're the worst, and we all don't like you. Yeah, so I think we are going to pick it back up with Shalon then, because she's the first one on the list.
Checks out.
Okay. We're going to check back in with her, hanging out with Slaver Guy. Maybe she'll make it to the Shattered Plains. That would be surprising if she made it that fast.
That'd be fast, yeah.
Yeah, we don't know. Or maybe a third thing will happen. Who knows? And then here's my kind of overhauling theory that's not fully manifested yet, kind of not shaped. But while we were talking, it kind of just popped in my brain. So, like, what if I don't know what shard, right? But whatever shard, what if they splintered, whether it was on purpose or not? And the Parshendi you're talking about, gods or storm god or whatever, and different entities were basically handed this power, right? And so that's why there's like so much different magical forces / power going on this planet, because they've got like all of these different entities bearing little tiny pieces of a shard and using its magics. And like maybe the head of the Spren is like one of the wielders of said splinter piece, whatever. Like I said, this is not fully formed, but like my idea of being like a shard splintered, and then there's different manifestations of this magic / power. Although a lot of the magic that we're seeing is derived from the Spren, so maybe that's not a great theory. But I don't know. I feel like there's something extra going on here that hasn't been going on other like 2 shard planets or 1 shard planets. Of course, the only other like 2 shard planet I could think of now is in one guy, and then the other ones are dead. So like I don't know.
Yeah. There's a lot of dead ones that were on double shard planets.
Yep. A lot of dead ones.
And at least one dead one here. So.
Yep.
But yeah, okay. That's. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I don't really know how to make that make more sense. I was just thinking. Just my brain. This is how my brain works. Sorry, guys.
Just my brain.
Just my brain firing synapses into the darkness.
I mean, saying that Shalon's the first on the list, so the first chapter might be her, that makes sense. And also, I feel like the day's masterpiece, that sounds like a Shalon thing. That's like
a I mean, she makes
thing maybe.
Yeah, she makes drawings. Oh yeah, what was the second interlude title?
Last Legion.
Last Legion. See, I'm gonna stick with my Pure Lake thing, because I feel like in that flashback or division that Dalinar had, he was in the Pure Lake and there was like some fighting going on there. So I'm gonna stick with that.
That did happen, yeah. There was even like a big tower out there where he was like, this must not exist today because this would be famous. Maybe it's hiding out there somewhere. Tower. Maybe Ishik knows all about it.
Yeah, Ishik's like, oh, yay. I just assume
I go catch fish
Canadian.
There sometimes.
Yeah, I just assume he sounds Canadian. Hey there, brother. Yeah, I could take you out to the Pure Lake Tower. I love that place. Great fishing.
All praise to the god we hate, so that he doesn't curse us.
I'd forgotten that. Yes, their whole thing where they have to pretend to worship one god and secretly worship the other one.
Yeah, he gets jealous.
Oh man, good times. Okay, some interesting predicaments today. We missed Jaymee. Jaymee didn't get to discuss the ins and outs of the Parshendi this time. Maybe she'll have something to say when she comes back.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Moving on to we don't have that much extra today. We have one email that it was actually saved from last week, so I will read that one. This one does have a review attached, Joe, so get your misting list ready to go. I'm kind of glad that they added the review ability to Spotify because like the majority of our listening audience is on Spotify, it seems like. So it's nice that more of them now can get that interaction. We had one message on Discord that actually came in before the last episode, but I kind of forgot. It just said, "Hey, Sanderlanche crew, congrats on 200 episodes," from Matthias. So
Thanks.
we're on 201 now. We're still going, if you can believe it. We didn't get to 200 and go, it's time to pack it in.
Yeah, that's true. And we don't. I feel like we don't say it enough. At least I don't. But we appreciate you guys listening. We would not have gotten to 200 episodes if we didn't have like. I don't feel like unless we had a group of people that were tuning in each week and hanging out with us, although not directly. So we appreciate everyone that listens, and even if you don't like us that much, we still appreciate it if you listen.
You're allowed not to like us. It's good. We understand.
Not everything is for everybody, as I like to say.
Okay. The email that we have is from Lybo, Lybo. It says, "Hello there. I've put off writing another email to you guys for quite some time now because I haven't really been able to figure out Spotify's podcast reviews. Evidence of my hopefully successful attempt at giving a 5-star review can be found in the attachments. But I think now that you started reading Words of Radiance, it's time to do so regardless. Although I can't quite decide between Words of Radiance and Oathbringer, I think it's my favorite book in the Stormlight Archive so far, mostly because I really enjoyed the Shallan flashbacks and some of her plot points. On the other hand, Oathbringer has some of my favorite emotional moments. Also, there's some good stuff with Hoyd. Speaking of Hoyd, I'm wondering whether or not I got the right impression that the crew also really enjoys him showing up once in a while. Do we like seeing Hoyd?
Oh, fuck yeah.
I mean, he's like the lifeline to the Cosmere at this point, right? Because maybe going forward there's going to be a lot of crossover. That's what Brandon has seemed to indicate. But like before that, this is like the guy. He's Sexy Drifter. I don't think you name him Sexy Drifter if you don't like him, right, Joe?
Yeah.
I asked myself out loud.
and I answered like a twig.
Yeah, Dak answered the question that Joe asked himself.
Yeah.
Classic. One last thing before I come to an end. I don't know whether this has come up as point of discussion before or not, but do you guys generally prefer the US or UK covers for the Cosmere books? Myself, I think the UK covers are better most of the time. Anyway, thanks for making my Mondays a little better each week. Wasn't to the time of next. Livo. Before we get to the review, what do you guys think? UK covers, US covers?
I really don't see the covers because you sent them to me on Kindles, and I know there is a cover, but I just press the button and go into the book, so I really don't see it.
I'm not a guy who like looks up alternative cover arts for a book. I've got the covers on the books that we have here, and that's the one I look at. I don't look up the rest. Like
I know
I'm sure the art is good on them, but I don't go out of my way to look it up.
I know we've discussed the Way of Kings cover and how it doesn't really have anything to do with the book. And I have looked at that one because we've discussed it, and I would say I'm underwhelmed by the US cover of it for sure. It doesn't really like excite me to look at it.
We looked at the Words of Radiance cover at the same time because it was like the Kaladin doing the Iron Man landing thing was the US cover.
Oh, that's right. So I did see it. Yeah, I mean that one's okay. At least it's a character that we know and can identify on the cover.
We know that the UK cover is, because Dak and Jaymee have that one, is divided into two pieces. So here, I'll put it into our chat. There's the two parts of the Words of Radiance, the UK cover.
Yep.
Big fan of the second cover. Not as big of a fan as the first one.
Yeah. It's kind of blah.
All the, aside from the Secret Projects, and Elantris, because we got the 10th anniversary for that one, all the books have very much have this white with one color scheme going on. So all the Stormlight books are red on white, Arcanum Unbounded is green on white, Warbreaker is purple, and the Mistborn ones are blue. So they've all got a similar color scheme going on, and like sort of abstract looking art. I know we talked about the Bands of Mourning one way back when because it had a statue on it. We were trying to figure out what the statue was and who the dude that's standing at the bottom of it was.
Right.
But yeah, it's mostly just like this, the one color, white, and one figure or something.
Yeah.
Most of the
And
time,
if you want,
which is pretty cool, and it's consistently thematic. But
right.
It's like, yeah, it's cool. I don't really spare it too much thought.
Right. If you want to talk cool covers, or at least disparities between covers, I would argue that, and not just because I grew up with them, I would argue that the Harry Potter US covers are way more interesting than the UK covers.
Oh.
The original UK covers are just kind of boring, in my opinion. Whereas, like, I feel like they went all out. The illustrator for the covers of the US ones kind of went all out on these things. They're pretty cool to look at.
I'm looking through all of the alternate covers for Words of Radiance. The French version is also divided into two. I gotta show you guys the first part of the French one, because I think this is supposed to be Eshonai, but it's kind of interesting. But also, the graphic audio is divided into 5 parts, so each part has its own. I'm going to show you guys the first 3 because I think they're all actually pretty cool. This is the first one. And you guys can find, not you guys, but people listening, if you want to look at the different covers, you can go to the Coppermind wiki, and it has a section under Words of Radiance for all the various covers.
Oh, cool.
That's the first one, which looks like a Chasm Fiend and a Chull.
That's got to be a Chasm Fiend, yep.
The second one is like somebody in Shardplate who's ripped the gem heart out of a Chasm Fiend. And the third one is just Adolin and Renarin, but I think it looks pretty cool.
Interesting.
The fourth and fifth ones are potentially spoilery, so I'm not going to share those. But...
Yep.
So I think I will say, in response to the question that we got, I like a lot of the US covers. I think there is something to be said for the way that the UK covers, like Dak mentioned, they have sort of a color scheme across all of them. Like pretty much all of the Cosmere books have like the white, and so they look more uniform. They look more like a group than the US covers, which are just kind of like all over the place.
I should also mention, like, I don't have it because we got the fancy hardcover, but I've seen a copy of Tress of the Emerald Sea in bookshops that has the same sort of scheme as well. It's green. It's a much lighter green than Arcanum Unbounded on white. So I assume that all the secret projects got that as well, but I don't know what colors they got. Ditto Elantris.
Interesting. Oh yes, I had to pull up the cover, but yeah, I see what you mean. It's got that same white base, but instead of the red, it's got the green. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I want to see the different covers for Tress. Oh, most of them are actually really similar. The UK one is the most different, it looks like to me. Interesting. Anyway, thank you for the email, Libo. And looks like Libo may be German, because we've the screenshot from Spotify of their 5-star review appears to be in German.
Oh, cool.
What did they say in their 5-star review?
You can't write words in the Spotify one. You just put in the 5 stars.
That's kind of boring. I mean, that's fine. We love the 5 stars. Appreciate it for sure. Not downplaying
that's
thought
at Spotify.
Yeah, that's a dig at Spotify for sure. Well, Libo, I appreciate you, man. You're gonna be one of my favorites, a smoker.
And Joe's not saying you have to smoke cigarettes.
No, smoke. No, I'm not saying that.
You can burn copper.
Oh yeah,
burn that copper. Well, yeah, Uncle wasn't with the burn.
So if anyone wants to get a cool misting power, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, or leave us a 5-star review on Spotify or some other platform, and send us an image of it so that we can have the proof, and Joe will give you a Mistborn power. If you want to email us, just an email, or to email in your review, the email address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. Find us on X, and I almost said Spotify. We already know that we're on Spotify. X and Facebook and Patreon, where this week I've started putting up my reactions to Long Chills and Case Doe. Now that I've finished reading that book and recorded all of my reactions. It's only 3 episodes worth because it's a very short book. But if you want to check that out, Joe, you can join our Patreon, and Joe will give you a ferrochemical power as well.
Yeah, that's true. We're gonna have to figure out like some kind of other thing to give out, like once we know all the Night Radiant powers.
Yeah, there's been some discussion of that. Like if we want to switch from misting to Night's Radiant or something. But it's hard.
That's a tough one. I don't know.
We will once we know more. I think either at the end of book 2 or 3, we may take because They've got that the quiz. Brandon has the quiz on his website. That's like the Harry Potter sorting quiz, but it's
nice.
for Knights, Radiant Orders, and so you guys will get to take that, and we can discuss that sort of thing at that time.
Sweet, that sounds fun.
Yeah. So
just take the quiz then. I'm not awarding it. You take the quiz. When we get there, if you haven't ever taken the quiz, take it with it. Take it at the same time we do, and then you'll know.
There you go. Okay, anything else that we need to touch on? I don't think so. So, like I said, for next time, we're going to do 3 more chapters. That's the last 2 of these, the first set of interludes, and then chapter 13 start us into part 2. So 3 chapters for next time. Music by Miracle of Sound. And Wasing to the Time of Next. Colo, P.S. Fasher. Crabat.
You forgot your name. Don't let your spirit fade away. Amnesia, you've been through such pain. You're growing stronger every day. Amnesia.